politics as usual. Welcome to Politics as Usual, where we discuss politics from A to Z. It's your boy Mars, aka Marlon Beardo, the Bearded Weirdo, and with me as always,
it's your girl Jay.
Thank you so much. Jay, how are you doing today?
I'm hanging in there. I can't complain. How are you?
Sure. Not bad, not bad. It's a very solemn day, as we all know, and I think that's why we're here. So I think we should just dig right into it. How about you?
Yeah, I agree.
Excellent. So as of recording today is May 25th, 2021. And if that day does not mean anything to you, it's probably because you haven't been paying attention. Today is the 1 year anniversary of the assassination of George Floyd. Rest in peace, King. And today, this whole episode is going to be dedicated about his life, his memory, our mission as a people, and what we can do to make sure that something like this doesn't continue to happen, because unfortunately it has been happening since his assassination. So Minneapolis police murdered George Floyd today, 1 year ago, exactly 1 year ago today. And since then, the police in the United States has killed 967 more people. So almost 1,000 people, almost a third of the people that died in 9/11 has been killed in a year by police. And that's one of the reasons why the show was founded. It's one of the reasons why my partner's foundation was founded. Is because this has been something that's been going on, not since just George Floyd was assassinated, but since the police were constructed. And the words to fund the police, abolish police, reform the police get thrown around. But at the end of the day, the point is the same. It's the police. The problem is the police. So that's what we're going to have. We're going to have an open and honest dialogue. And I think I have the best partner in the world.
Thank you.
to talk about that. My sense of direction is crazy. So, Jay, I would like for you to really just talk about Cusp for a moment, the original origin, and how police brutality and the reformation of what's going to be needed from the police moving forward. So if you could just, the floor is yours, just tell us a little bit about Cusp and the original formation.
Okay. Yes. Cusp, it stands for Keeping Us Secure and Prosperous. So it is just a combination of wanting my community to be able to make it home safely, with also building economic infrastructure so that we can start to progress, right? We're waiting for our leadership to sign reform, sign policy to change things for the better for us. We can continue to wait, but I just think that we can wait and be moving in a progressive way in the interim. So that's what I believe Cusp is out to do. It's basically the initiative is to make sure that we get home safe, community vigilance, watching out for each other. Because I know how I feel when I interact with police, and I know that I am my brother's keeper, my sister's keeper, and if I feel this way, then I am sure that others feel the way that I do, and I want them to know that we are looking out for each other. The community, is behind each other. When we march, when we're out in the streets, when we're at meetings, when we're just through this last year, we've had to depend on each other in different ways that didn't even think we were going to have to. But this is just another way that we're going to have to bring back the it's a village type of mentality that it runs in our DNA, but we really have to bring that to the forefront to make sure that we are watching out for each other because the leadership is not doing that. And so that's the biggest thing. And then with the economic structuring of that infrastructure building for the businesses is to make sure that our dollar is being valued the same way as other dollars are, to make sure that it's running in a bigger circle, and just making it work for us. Because again, I want the policy change. I want the reform, but I also don't want to continue to wait for something that may never come. I want to make sure that we are still heading in the right direction, and when it comes, it comes. But I want to let the powers that be know that we, as a people, are not no longer waiting, um, waiting for them to come rescue us. We're going to start rescuing ourselves, and they can come along accordingly, and we hope they do. So that's it's my love child. It's the like my passion, my being. But more importantly, it's just it comes from a way of a place of me just making sure that my community is protected a little bit more, because again, being boots on the ground, being at city council meetings, just seeing that our leadership, our democratic leadership at that. So let's just go ahead and scratch the partisan and all that and blame game, but it's literally across the board. Um, we just haven't seen the change that we need, and that we've been asking for. And now it is I mean, it's been a year, but now it's a year of one of the biggest uproars. I mean, we had the pandemic, but George Floyd's murder was a whole nother level of being that the entire world experienced at one time. Um, and so now we're going on the anniversary of that, and that's what do we have to show for that, you know? Um, so yeah.
Absolutely. And it seems like what we've seen, not shockingly, I should say, is more death in our community, more mistreatment by police in our community.
Mhm.
Uh, we haven't seen the change that we need, especially as fast as it should be. And the George
Right.
Floyd Act is something that we've heard President Biden speak about. There has been some progress for Breonna Taylor, no not warrants, but it hasn't been something federal. And I
Mhm.
think what we've seen is that the pen is mightier than the sword.
Mhm.
Legislation can be done just like that. And why it hasn't been done is something that's just really been bothering me, especially seeing the Stop Asian Hate Act get passed so
Mhm.
swiftly. And I am so happy for our brothers
Mhm.
and sisters in that community. It was the right thing to do. But I just don't understand why we continue to be put on the burner when we built this country. And I think that is why we've seen protests for George Floyd publicly all across the world, because it's really hit a focus on what's going on with black men and women and brown men and women go through every day in this country. One thing I don't know if you've seen, Jay, have you seen Darnella Frazier, the teen who actually recorded George Floyd's murder? She
Mhm.
released her first statement. Have you had an opportunity to check it
No,
out?
no, I have not.
Well, I have it here, and
Okay.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and share it
Yes,
with the
please.
with the uh with the audience. So let's go ahead and take a look. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up. This is her first statement, and God bless this girl because she is a hero for sure. So this came out in USA Today. So I'm going to go ahead and read this statement. And this is the teenage girl who filmed the murder of George Floyd. And she
Mhm.
says she's still traumatized by what she witnessed a year ago. And that was a theme, trauma, that
Okay.
we saw in the Derek Chauvin trial over and over again. But here's her statement. So
Okay.
It's a little easier now, but I'm not who I used to be. A part of my childhood was taken from me. Darnella Frazier, 18, wrote in a statement posted to her Facebook page Tuesday. Floyd, a Minneapolis black man, died a year ago on Memorial Day during an arrest. Frazier, then 17 years old, was visiting a local convenience store with her 9-year-old cousin when she saw ex-police officer and current convict Derek Chauvin and several other officers restraining Floyd to the ground. She recorded the incident on her cell phone as she and other bystanders pleaded with them to get off Floyd, who repeatedly said he couldn't breathe. And so that statement alone, and there's more, which I have right here. Okay. A lot of people call me a hero, even though I don't see myself as one. I was just in the right place at the right time. Behind this smile, behind these awards, behind the publicity, I'm a girl trying to heal from something I am reminded of every day. And she's been recognized, and this she was awarded the 2020 Penn Barrison Courage Award in December from
Mhm.
Spike Lee. She's been recognized and she is a hero. But
Yeah.
behind those heroics, it's just a trauma of a girl who's that's going to be with her till the day she passed away.
Mhm. I
And
think all of us were, even when we weren't, um, through our screens, we were traumatized. In our homes, we were traumatized. So I know that the people that were standing there experiencing that first in real time have to have that. They have to have residual trauma. And that's what we've been screaming for since all of these injustices. It's like, at what point do you realize the ramifications of what you're doing? It's very much throwing the pebble into the lake. There's a ripple effect. Like, I cannot continue to see you coming into my neighborhoods and killing us and then expect there not to us not to feel a certain way or to hold something in there, you know? It's just it's a weird conundrum that I don't understand, and I try to find reason in it where people, especially police officers, when they're like, they're so shocked that people are adverse to them. They don't get thank yous, and people don't run up and hug them, and it's like, but you also want people to be afraid of you, and you've tried very hard to make sure that that's your persona. Um, and now that people are afraid of you and don't want anything to do with you, you feel some type of way about that. It's a weird juxtaposition. I don't know. I don't understand.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the old mafia movies
Mhm.
where they say, it's better to be feared than respected. And that's
Mhm.
what the police seem to have chosen. They have the option to be respected,
Right.
like firemen or EMTs. You've never heard a song F the fireman. Have have you?
No. No, I
Unless
haven't.
unless they may really want to F the fireman because
Right, right.
they think they're hot, but I I've never heard a song to say F the EMTs.
Mhm.
I've never heard a song F the dentist, and people hate the dentist, but you
Facts.
hear you hear F the police because it is literally oppressors in your local communities, and
Mhm.
that's not the way it should be. Um,
Right.
and even what's going on in Philadelphia with Larry Krasner and how they were supporting um, a man who was known to have falsified evidence and had people arrested and incarcerated, and the police unions were supporting them. So it's very hard for us to continue to say, "Oh, it's just a few bad apples," and that's not the trend at all.
Mhm.
I'm a reality based person. I have to take a look at what's presented in front of me and take it as it is. And I've always been told, my mother always told me, when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Mhm.
So it's an image with this going by a year. There's an image that I want to share just with Don Lemon. And this happened about a month ago with him and Professor Cornell West from Harvard, where
Okay.
Cornell West pretty much said, "Hey, we cannot continually stand by idly."
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, let's take a look at this. All right.
Need a freelancer? Go to Fiverr.com and find one in seconds. Or don't go to Fiverr and waste your time searching for a freelancer. So joining me now, Professor Cornell West. Professor, good evening. Thanks
How
so
you
much
doing,
for
my
joining.
dear brother?
I'm doing okay. As well as can be expected under the circumstances. So,
I know what you mean.
this trial, it's gut wrenching. I mean, Sarah summed it up there. The man begging for his life, pleading to be seen as a man, like all the rest of us. And the video of George Floyd dying over and over and over again. What is this trial saying about us as a country, especially when it comes to how we all see race?
No, it takes us to the most fundamental question that has always sat at the center of not just America, but the 400 years that you and my ancestors have been here, which is, do we have the will to stay in contact with the rich humanity of Black people? To stay in contact with the beauty of Black people, the intelligence of Black people, the tenderness of Black people, the soulfulness of Black people. When you talk about Brother George Perry Floyd Jr., you're talking about a human being. You're talking about a precious son of George Perry Sr. and precious Larcenia Jones Floyd. You're talking about what it means actually to open yourself to get beyond the stereotypes and acknowledge that for the first nearly 100 years, America failed on that question. You didn't stay in contact with humanity of Black people. You enslaved us. You exploited us. You tortured us. You tried to barbarize us, and we responded with making your democracy better, with more love, more freedom, and more wounded healing. Then we came back for another 100 years of neo-slavery. We failed on that again. Looked like under Martin and Fannie Lou Hamer and others, we were making a breakthrough. Looked like under Brother Barack Obama, we're making some progress. Here comes the backlash again. So here we are in 2020, saying very much how you started this show, my brother. Do we have what it takes to really acknowledge the rich humanity of Black folk, to treat us fairly, to treat us like human beings? Because if not, you're going to lose your democracy. You're going under. You're going fascist. If it wasn't for Black voters, especially Black women voters, you would have gone fascist under the gangster named Trump. And keep in mind, though, and this is the good news now, because this is Easter week. It was tomorrow they put my sweet Jesus on the cross. Roman Empire put him on the cross for going into that temple and running out those money changers. And that temple was a huge place, hundreds of troops. But what we heard from our vanilla sister, Courtney, was what? I stayed in contact with the rich humanity of Brother George. I knew he was a tender man. I knew he was a soulful man. I knew he was a kind man. I knew he was a human being, faults and foibles, like all of us, no matter what color or gender or sexual orientation. But thank God we've got some acknowledgement of it. The police be able to do it. Okay, I'm telling you, brother, if the police can't do it, then we're going to do it ourselves. Okay. I'll tell you this too. Now, let me just add this one thing, though, brother.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I thought about Brother George, and I thought about my brother, and I thought about my father, and I thought about my grandfather. I'm not going to stand there for no 9 minutes and 29 seconds and watch somebody murder my father. No, no, no. Martin Luther King Jr. talked about pacifism, and I believe in nonviolence, but I'm not going to watch that kind of murder. I love my brother Charles McMillan. That's why he was crying. That's what his tears were about. He felt helpless. We're not going to do that. Some of us Black folk, some of us Black men, we're not going to stand there. You're going to have to intervene in some way. They ain't going to kill us like that, and we remain spectators. Somewhere I read, silence is not an option. I don't stand with the silence. That's the last two sentences of your letter to Drew, your letter to your nephew. But America needs to understand that too. We got a self-respect. We got a self-defense. And we intervene when you start killing us like that. I'm sorry. We intervene out of love, out of deep love. Hey, let me ask you this, because everyone I saw on that video, and I asked this earlier, everyone I saw had some empathy, saw the humanity, felt the humanity of George Floyd, as you said, foibles and all. We're not thinking that with so much laying on the pavement in that situation, like what they've done wrong. We're thinking about when you're taking the life from a human being. Why is it that every single, and when you said the police thing, everybody saw his humanity and felt it, except for the police officers who were there? Because they've been getting away with it for decade after decade after decade. Even the good policemen, in the language of the mainstream, they remain silent. And they allow the gangsters in their ranks who've been mistreating folk. And keep in mind, brother, it's not just black folk who've been treated like this. You got some white brothers and sisters being treated like this, but we get 3 times. We get 36% of all of them. We only 12.8% of the population. You see what I mean? So we concerned about everybody. We're not confined to just the chocolate side, but I'll be damned if we're not going to start with the chocolate side of town with our blacks, our brown, indigenous folk, and our Asian.
Oh man, I think he said it best.
Mm-hmm.
I think he said it best, and that's a month old, and it's still as fresh and as raw as if it happened yesterday. But that clip, the reason I brought it up because I really think it summarized where we're at right now, today, as a country. We have to make the stands that hey, I may not make it home either in this situation, but you're going to have to take us all. You're not going to take us all out. You can't stand idly by and let another George Floyd. If you're there, you have to do something, and it's beyond just recording this. You have to do something. So one of the questions that Don Lemon and Cornell West brought up that I thought was intriguing. Do you think it's just the type of people that are attracted to the job of being a police officer?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's larger where the type of people that's being selected to be a police officer? Because it's a big difference between those two issues. What's your stance on that?
I could see it being a little bit of both, mainly because they do have like the tests and things that they have to take. So whatever parameters they're looking for, engaging off of those personality type tests, it may need to be tweaked a little bit because obviously there's something that's awry with whatever personality traits and stuff you're looking for. But I do also think that people become attracted to something um, and they just kind of gravitate towards it. I think a lot of times I've seen a lot of times people who, maybe didn't make it in the military or weren't able to do whatever other avenue of type of career or something like that. And then they kind of get attracted to the police fields because they can still get that rush or they can get their rocks off that way. It's just it's also that mentality like, oh, I'm going to go in. Just like when people go into the military, right? Like I remember distinctly growing up, Hampton Roads military town, but I remember distinctly meeting somebody and they were like, I'm so happy I joined the military so I can kill people. And like I remember that and I was like, wow, so that's like your interpretation of what this is. Like, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's kind of like that mentality of sometimes that people like, yeah, I can't wait to go and become a cop because I'm gonna get all the bad guys. But to them, all the bad guys don't look nothing like them. You know what I mean? And so it's like that's already uh, a recipe for disaster. You know? What do you think it is?
I agree. I definitely think it's. I hear a lot of pundits talk about training, 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 but the things they're doing. are literally stage one common sense.
Mhm.
Don't kill people.
Right.
It's they're
Be
breaking the own laws that are
Mhm.
in their own books that they're being enforced. So I can't say it's a
Right.
training issue. It's a person
Uh-huh.
issue. It's an institution issue.
Right.
And that's the problem. And that's why I am a huge proponent of defunding the police. I don't
Mhm.
think we're ever going to get to the point where we're going to abolish the police.
Mhm.
Not in this country, not in my lifetime, but definitely making that when these guys come out, if you guys want to be the killers, if you guys have this mentality that I'm roughing up people and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do, then you're only called when it's the people that should be getting the
Mhm.
Dylan Roofs of the world. You want to go out and be a jump out
Right.
boy on the Dylan Roof, or the guys that are shooting
Right.
up schools or terrorizing people. That's when you okay, net, but you
There's
never see
levels
them
to
then.
this. Yeah, you don't need to be in the schools. You don't need to be in,
Domestic
in
calls.
dealing with the mental health issues and dealing with, non-emergency anything. You need to be strictly all emergency, all hands on deck type situations.
Right.
Period.
Essentially
Um,
SWAT teams.
right.
But the problem is a lot of these Derek Chauvin type characters, they couldn't make a SWAT team or a Marine Corps, something that's really hardcore to save their lives. So they're
And or even if they could, even if they came from the military, that's a different thing. And that's
right,
the thing that we see, especially within this last year when there was protests and different things. You're literally sitting weaponized, militarized vehicles and ammo and things down on some on citizens. Like that's a different thing. Like, you know what I mean? There's levels to this and categories, and I just think like y'all are overlapping the military with the police, like policing a lot. And I just think there needs to be, and I know that separation of church and state and all those stuff. It's a facade because we all know that it literally is all entwined and
you
everything, right?
swear to be the president on the Bible. You swear
Right. Yeah.
on the Bible of your choice. Of course, they say it's on our money. So
Yeah.
it is an hilarious concept, the separation of
Right.
church and
In Virginia
state.
Beach, the logo for the city actually has a cross on it. Like, it's, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay. But my thing is that with the military and the policing intertwining the way that it has, especially again this last year, it's the force that you're bringing is it's insane, especially when you have people literally doing terroristic acts in our most sacred of government buildings, and you do nothing, absolutely nothing. And I think that's the thing about it. It's like we've seen everything this last year. We've seen a president who doesn't give zero fucks, right? And goes and does everything he wants to do. And then we've seen somebody that says they have a lot of things to do and hasn't done those things. We've seen police forces come out in tactical gear and literally blinding people, pushing older people, my fault, mature people over, doing all sorts of egregious things to people. But then you have people, citizens, a terrorist during January 6th, and they're literally the gates are open for them. You know what I mean? We've seen that bills can get passed anonymously, and not anonymously, and unanimously. I mean, one person didn't vote, okay. Well, everyone else did. And then we also see bills that literally are sitting there for months and don't get signed at all. And all of it leads back to black people are not equal. Like literally that's just it. So then you have to also deal with the people in the highest positions telling you that this country is not racist.
Yeah, and it's one of the most harmful comments I think for the advancement of black people to see someone that we, and when I say we, I
Hmm.
mean we, because without us, there would not be a Joe Biden in office. There would not
Hmm.
be a Kamala Harris in office. There would not have been a Barack Obama in office. Democrats don't get into office without us, period. The
Mhm.
country is essentially 50-50 down the middle, and we are the ones that swing it the other way. So their whole political base is owed to black people, particularly black women. Stacey
Mhm.
Abrams is the savior of that entire. She flipped Georgia essentially
Mhm.
on her own with the help of uh, others, but mostly behind her power. So the fact that we weren't first in line is a problem
Mhm.
for me.
Right.
First
Especially
in line.
because the whole statement he made on the Breakfast Club to Charlemagne. Oh, if you're not black and if you don't vote for me or if you don't want to vote for me, whatever he
And the
said.
quote, if you don't know the difference between me and Donald Trump, then you ain't black, was
Right.
his exact quote, even with the vernacular. And and both Biden and Kamala, I talked about this on another show that I was guessing on, have had some issues with police, police force, some of the laws they helped pass, or some of the people. And the person that was interviewing me said, well, she had to follow the laws that were on the book. As the attorney general, she doesn't make the laws. She just enforces them. But she also had discretion, just like the attorney general in Georgia had the discretion not to charge the men who murdered Breonna Taylor. They have discretion. So she has
Kentucky.
was it yeah, Kentucky, my apologies.
Okay.
Um so she has a lot to both of them have a lot, and it's not a lot of debt to pay to the black community. A lot of debt, and that bills
Mhm.
come due. The bills
Right.
come due, and the longer they wait, the more that interest compounds.
Right. And I mean, can't say this enough for George for like may his memory forever be a blessing. Um, I mean, the amount of everything that's come from his death, um, his murder, is insurmountable. And it happened at a time where, because of everything being shut down, people were actually able to slow down and pay attention, right? Because I mean, there's been tragedies since the 1920s when you were a kid, and when I was younger too. It's like we've had to deal with these types of things for the longest of times. But to actually be able to sit there and be able to watch it because you everything shut down, everything, and then people were able to talk about it and to, um, go and put their voices out there and get in the streets and everything. And it saddens me though, because it's like it's a lot. It's just the same thing we see with the with gun violence and stuff in general, right? It's a lot of prayers, well wishes. I'm so sorry this happened to you, and then the next one happens, and it's the same thing. Prayers, wishes. I'm so sorry this happened, and it's like, what will it take? What has to happen for us to get the justice, to get the reform, to get something to change? Because I'm tired. I don't know how many more literal deaths I can witness on film. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think anybody um, should be asked to do that, because we always get hit back with, oh wait, it's not your turn, just why do you expect everyone to do things all of a sudden? It's like, all of a sudden, I'm sorry that you're just realizing that this is a problem or an issue or whatever the case may be, but this isn't all of a sudden. These things that I'm experiencing now in my lifetime, my grandmother told me about. You know what I mean? Like, this is generations. I'm 7 generations deep in Hampton Roads. There's stories to be told in this area alone. Um, so I just can't imagine why people think that it's all of a sudden. You know what I mean? It's like, no, we've been here, we've been asking for this, and it needs to come. You know, I was when Biden said that he was still going to meet with the family. I was shocked. I wasn't. I was shocked, but wasn't shocked, right? Because I know that there's a lot of oh, acts and fluff, right? But I'm like, what are you going to tell this family after you guys literally ran this campaign of, oh, we're going to make sure we're going to set it right, we're going to set this country on the right track. Like, how dare you have this family in your office for photos, for you to tell them hopes and prayers, essentially, right? When you have the power, and the thing is, it's like, again, you have the power to do something. And I think that's the biggest insult, right? It's when we go to city council, we go talk to our governor, we literally are talking to the president. They have the means to do it. You're in a position to do it. So for you to sit there and tell the people that, oh, you're not going to do it, or you're not listening, or whatever the reason of, like, you're not going to bend over backwards to make this happen, because again, the people are asking you, the people that voted for you are asking you to do it, and you don't do it, then what are we to think? You know what I mean? Like, what do we do with that? Because then that's why I say I'm past partisanship. I don't consider myself personally a Democrat. I say independent, just because I don't want to call myself a Democrat fully, especially nowadays when everything is so gray. There's you can't tell me that you're the party for the people or that you're looking out for the democracy if you're not actually doing that. And I think right now is the perfect example of that, because we have the surplus of democratic leadership, and still we are not getting the reform that we're asking for. And we're always met with, oh, we don't know what you need or what you want. And we tell you, and it's still like, oh, but we don't want to worry. We're worried about lawsuits if we take qualified immunity away, the police officers might get more lawsuits. Well,
Good.
the families still are suing the cities. So
Right. And we're
the
paying for it.
citizens are paying for the police officers to not have the accountability. So they don't care about lawsuits, because lawsuits are happening. It was just released now that the Lynch family from Donovan Lynch, who got murdered on March 26th by a police officer from Virginia Beach, their family is suing for wrongful death. They're suing the city.
Right.
They still have not released the name of the officer. So even if they could sue, they don't know who the officer is. I mean, we presume, but we don't. They're not telling us. So they have no one else left to sue but the city. And it's like, so who's actually paying? We're paying. Citizens are paying with our lives, and we're paying with our wallets.
Right.
So again, I don't understand the fear of accountability, because at the same time where you have these entities that say they're pretty much not scared of nothing, but they're scared of accountability. They don't do anything wrong, but they don't want to wear body cameras and don't want the accountability. And, you have all the power. You have all the training. You have all the weaponry, and you still want to act like you're scared for your lives. You don't know how to tell your gun from your taser, and you still, in the end of everything, don't want to be held responsible for any of it. What gives?
It's simply because if a spoiled brat is used to getting his way all the time, when you tell them no, it's going to blow their mind, and they're going to have the biggest temper tantrum. And that's literally what we're seeing. In this country, police have been put on a pedestal. They've been put on a pedestal by the media. They've been put on the pedestal by the news. They've been put on the pedestal by the school systems. They've been officer friendly. And not only that, every show is a hero cop, a hero road cop, and images in the media. So it's a perfect storm where the police have been put on this level. They have all the political power, all the political sway. They have the strongest union in America. So it is a a combination of things that just are beyond reproach right now. They feel that they're beyond reproach. So it's definitely going to need not only legislation, not only continued pressure, no pun intended, on their necks, but
Mhm.
it's going to have to be all of those and us standing up as a community saying, no, you're not going to come into communities and kill our sons. You're not going to come into communities and kill our daughters. You're not, we consider that a act of war. If this
Mhm.
person does not have a weapon and this person is unarmed and this person is not a clear and present danger to themselves, the police, or others, we're no longer going to be able to say, oh, I thought it was a cell phone, or oh, it was a cell phone. I thought it was a gun. No, and it's going to have to be politically on both ends. We're going to have to
Mhm.
organize, strategize. But we're also going to have to make sure that we are politically using everything. Because one of my favorite quotes: "Politics is war without bloodshed, and war is politics with bloodshed." So
Mhm.
they're going to have to pick one way or the other. And I want peace. I'm a hippie, but I'm not gonna see my dad get choked out just like uh, Cornell West said, Professor
Mhm.
Cornell West, Dr. West. That's not gonna happen. So if we both have to go to, that's just the way it's gonna have to be. So
Mhm.
it's easier and better for all just to be peaceful and pass that legislation. But we have we're almost wrapped here. Um,
Mhm.
what closing thoughts do we have on this just memorial and dedication to George Floyd?
I think through everything, I've realized just how integral um, African Americans are to America, right? I mean, we know that anyways, but just the fact that we haven't gotten anywhere with the federal reform and everything, it just shows to me um, just literally our suffering is so wrapped up in what America is that without it, it would literally go bankrupt. And so the fear um, of that is of America in general is more than that debt is worth our lives, right? So again, I feel like we need to watch out for each other, but also we need to make sure that we are um, building our economic infrastructure because if the price of my life they're not going to be able to pay um, and I just don't want any more hashtags. I think enough is enough, and we're done waiting.
Uh,
That's it.
I I think that's the word of the day. Hashtag no more hashtags. That I think that sums it up. But thank you so much, Jay, as always.
Yeah. Thank
We want
you.
to say rest in peace to George Floyd and all the others that have been victims of this continued police brutality and war against Black people. I want to say much love and light and support to anyone who has been a victim of police brutality. That's the family, the people that have watched it on TV and have been traumatized, the media that's had to write on it, anyone, and a hope and prayer that we recognize that this structure of white supremacy has to be toppled all across the world so we can have a better place for future generations. If not, it's going to consume itself because when you have one people thinking they are greater or better than the rest of the world, it's going to end up either consuming or causing chaos. Uh,
Right.
and that's not what we want. We want to be able to have peace and laughs and have the show not be on the air. That's what we want. We want this show to get canceled because the world is a better place.
Yeah.
That's the
Perfect
goal.
harmony.
Excellent. Well, as always, it's your boy Mars, aka Marlon Beardo. the bearded weirdo. Thank you so much for joining us. Jay, thank you so much as always. You're the best. Please check her
Thank
out
you.
at We Are Cusp as always. Please check
Yeah.
out and subscribe to Mark's Entertainment. Like, subscribe, look at the next video. Stay here a while. We've got cool shit.
All right.
All right. As always, deuces.
Bye.